Hello friends, welcome back to the VFX Pipeline channel, and in this video we will see MPAA Change Control and Configuration Management Guideline. This information is based on MPAA Common Guidelines version 4.05 which is released on May 31st, 2019. For more information you can visit mpaa.org/best practices. So as per MPAA Change Control Configuration Management, you should establish a policies and procedure to ensure data, application, network and system components have been pre-approved by business leadership. So if you want to use a application, a software, or maybe a new network setup, maybe a new switch, new firewall, that should be approved by business leadership. And make sure there are 2 points in this column is like manage risk associated with the change in data application and network interface infrastructure and system. Also review the security controls and integrity procedures to ensure they will not compromised by changes. So whether you want to install a new software, make sure check with all the settings, make sure that is not come with some sort of a ransomware or any kind of viruses with that, or maybe a malware with that, or maybe some adware with that. So that is actually you should go with the filtering process of that software. And not just related to this, maybe if you want to change something inside your hardware or network infrastructures, that make sure it is all approved by your business leadership. And also you should have a policies and procedures for that, and you should go with a proper approval process for this. You should include a documentation that describe installation, configuration and use of device services and features, and update documentation as needed. So make sure you should have a documentation where you can include the configuration. For example, let's say if you are using a switch or maybe a firewall or maybe a server or file server, make sure then you can actually make a proper installation documentation for that and mention what are the configurations. It may be the IP address thing, or maybe the main share settings, or maybe it can be all the settings. If you are working on some if you make some servers on Linux, maybe they are network bonding setups, or maybe they are load balancer stuff. What are the things that you actually use this, that is actually useful when you want to make some restoration of that, or maybe you want to create a new server which is doing something like that, or you want to replace the hardware with the same configuration. But at least for that you should have a documentation which describe all this thing, and you should update this documentation if you make any changes in that configuration in reality. So that you should update the documentation. Make sure your documentation is fully up to date. Document the known issues and procedures to dealing with them. So if you face some issues, then make sure you document that. And also if after you solve that issue, make sure you add that procedure how to solve that issue inside that document. So maybe in future anyone else can actually take that as a reference. You can include the procedure of reporting bugs and security vulnerabilities. So that is also, let's say if there is any bug or anything inside, so within your organization or your company, make sure you have a in-house ticketing system or IT help desk system where you can actually people or your employees can create some issues and report you all the bugs and security issues. Make sure you restrict and monitor the installation of hardware and software. So this should be only handled by the designated administrator within your organization. Make sure no employees should have permission to install softwares in their system, or maybe install hardware in their system, or use external hardwares like drives or pen drives or camera or whatever in their computer. Make sure that is completely restrict. And also if somebody try to do that, then you should monitor that also. Ensure that appropriate backup and rollback for these procedures are documented and tested. Identify all affected computer software, data files, database entities and infrastructure. Minimize the business disruption when implement changes. If you want to implement some changes, maybe changing in the hardware or software or installing some new stuff, then it should not be like a big impact on the business. So make sure that impact will be very less. And the document and retain all the changes, requests, and testing results and management approval. So make sure at the end you keep the documents. So the key takeaway from this is make sure you have proper restore and backup system. The make sure you are actually identifying all the affected computers which install some not approved software, or maybe using some other adware, or maybe some sort of thing which is not as per our security policies, that you can identify those pieces. Make sure you restrict and monitor the activities of installation of hardware and software, and make sure you have the documents and for all the changes the request. So if somebody wants to install a software, so first make sure that you have a management approval for that, then only you can go and install that software. So that's it guys, please subscribe to this YouTube channel to get update of my upcoming videos, and my next video will be what is MPAA segregation of duties. So I will see you in my next video.